Hi, I'm Gary Ford from Hobbies Limited, and welcome to episode 2 of our ACES series. This time, it's the German pilot, Luftwaffe pilot, Hans-Joachim Marseille, the top scoring Luftwaffe pilot against the Royal Air Force. The reason we're releasing episode 2 after episode 3, Screwball Beurling, is because of the delay in getting the die-cast Hobbymaster HA8766 148 Messerschmitt BF109 F4 Yellow 14, flown by Marseille, which has now landed at Tiger Hobbies as of the 9th of February 2026 and should be at the retailers over the next 72 hours. And you can see the aircraft on the turntable. As folks interested in history, or those doing scale modelling, we all kind of have an uncomfortable relationship with World War II German subjects. Who does not like a Messerschmitt 109, Focke-Wulf 190, Heinkel 111, Tiger tank, Panther tank, and the battleship Bismarck? But we should never forget who used them and controlled these platforms in World War II. Nazis in the main, unfortunately. But there are a few individuals who gained some respect from the Allies. Even Winston Churchill once stated in Parliament in early 1942, describing Rommel by saying, "We have a very daring and skillful opponent against us. And, may I say, across the havoc of war, a great general." And earlier in 1941, about the paratrooper skill, German paratrooper skill, the Fallschirmjäger, in their audacity in taking the island of Crete. One such German World War II fighter pilot that did gain some respect from the Royal Air Force in the desert was Hans-Joachim Marseille, known to the Germans as the Star of Afrika, not only for his incredible skill in the air, but also for showing humanity against shot-down RAF and Commonwealth pilots in the Desert War. Marseille was also the top-scoring fighter pilot against the Royal Air Force in World War II, scoring 158 victories, and in one action shooting down almost a squadron of Curtiss P-40E Kitty Hawks on the 15th of September 1942. And earlier, on the 1st of September 1942, he claimed 17 Royal Air Force aircraft. Of course, some of these claims may have been German propaganda, but the Royal Air Force did lose a lot of aircraft in that period and many damaged. Marseille was a bit of an oddity amongst his fellow German pilots. His love of American jazz music that was banned by the Nazis as Negro music, his Bohemian approach to life, his love of culture and art set him apart, plus his reputation of being the Luftwaffe's naughty boy and overall bad lad, with Luftwaffe authorities had him over the coals a number of times. In some ways he was very similar to George Beurling, in a lot of trouble with the Luftwaffe leadership in Europe, who wanted him out of the way, and this resulted in transfer to a unit that eventually ended up in North Africa. Born Hans-Joachim Jochen Walter Rudolf Siegfried Marseille in 1919 to German parents, I think of French Huguenot ancestry, hence the surname. He joined the Luftwaffe at the age of 19 after service in the Reich Labour Service. Just like the Royal Air Force, the Luftwaffe had commissioned pilots and enlisted pilots, but the Luftwaffe also had a middle ground of a potential officer pilot who thought they could make officers but had to prove themselves in combat first. Marseille was one of these potential officer pilots and excelled in training just like Beurling. And just like Beurling, could not keep out of trouble. In Marseille's case, it was the good time and members of the opposite sex. He could not get enough of both. But he graduated Luftwaffe Fighter Pilot School, graded outstanding, just like Beurling was graded outstanding in the Royal Air Force. His first actions was in the Battle of Britain, where he claimed his first victories against the RAF, but was actually shot down on the 23rd of September 1940, possibly by Royal Air Force ace, Squadron Leader Stanford Tuck, where he spent at least 3 hours in the water before rescued by Heinkel HE-59 seaplane. Just like Beurling, Marseille kept breaking formations to get at the enemy, and just like Beurling, constantly be rebuked by his commanders. In October 1940, with 7 victories to his name, he was transferred to JG-52, flying with future top Luftwaffe aces Johann Steinhoff and Gerd Backhorn. They could see Marseille was a gifted pilot, but his love of band music, womenizing and living the playboy lifestyle, and his reluctance to fly as wingman Steinhoff quoted on his sacking from JG-52 and transferred to JG-27. Marseille was an extremely handsome young man and very gifted pilot, but he was unfortunately unreliable. He had so many girlfriends, they kept him very, very busy, so much so that he often was worn out and had to be grounded. His sometimes irresponsible way of conducting his duties was the main reason I fired him, but he had an irresistible charm. His new commander at JG-27, Edward Newman, thought, well, this one's trouble, and just like Laddie Lucas to Beurling, thought, well, I've got a trouble here, but possibly a great fighter pilot. JG-27 saw action in Yugoslavia before the unit was at last transferred to North Africa in April 1941, just as Rommel was making life pretty tough for the British 8th Army. The good thing about the deserts of North Africa, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Therefore, Marseille's staple commanders did not have to worry about the ladies distracting Marseille, and he could get on with the job of being a fighter pilot. He soon claimed his first victories in North Africa, but his BF109 E-Trop was soon shot down by James Dennis, a Hawker Hurricane pilot of 73 Squadron. Dennis would again shoot Marseille down, again in Hurricane, on the 21st of April 1941. But after this, Marseille's tally would steadily grow through the rest of 41 to about 35 by the year's end. Due to his constant disciplinary problems early in the war, even as a 35-kill ace, his rank was still that of potential officer candidate, a kind of senior corporal. But in North Africa, away from certain distractions, he knuckled down to his job, and was at last promoted to lieutenant or lieutenant by the end of 1941. And in 9 months during 1942, he would shoot down over 100 British and Commonwealth aircraft, gaining the nickname the Star of Afrika. Early in 1942, the Hawker Hurricane was transferred to ground attack and close air support duties, with variants like the Hurricane 2B and later 2D, armed with the 2x40mm cannons for tank busting. And the air superiority fighter for the Royal Air Force of the Desert would be newer versions of the P-40, this time the P-40E, or Kitty Hawk, in British and Commonwealth service. Early versions of the P-40 Tomahawks had shared duties of air-to-air fighting along with the Hawker Hurricane. Note there would be no Spitfires in theatre other than Malta until late 1942 in numbers, about the same time as the build-up to the Second Battle of El Alamein. But some Spitfire VC Trops started to get to North Africa in June of 1942, but in very small numbers. Also early in 1942, the Luftwaffe would start to receive the Messerschmitt BF109 F Trop, subject to our Hobby Master model. To some Luftwaffe pilots, the best version. A bit like the Spitfire Mark 9, had all the power but still had the agility and the graceful lines of the early Spitfires. Marseille's new aircraft, a BF109 F4 Trop named Yellow 14. On this aircraft, or at least two versions, serial numbers 8693 and 10137, Marseille would score over 100 victories and make Yellow 14 possibly the most famous BF109, along with Eric Hartmann's 352 kill BF109 Black Tulip. During 1942, the legend of the Star of Afrika grew amongst Royal Air Force and Commonwealth pilots. If you got shot down, it must have been the Star of Afrika, and aircraft after aircraft were falling to the guns of Yellow 14. By June 1942, his tally stood at 100, and Marseille returned to Germany for 2 months' leave, and the awards of the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with oak leaves and swords presented by Hitler. Marseille was the 11th Luftwaffe ace to get over 100 kills by that date. Marseille returned to combat in late August 1942, and on the 1st of September 1942, he would claim 17 Royal Air Force aircraft in one day, 8 in a 10-minute space of combat, reputedly. And on the 15th of September, he would shoot down 7 P-40 Kitty Hawks in one sortie. One of the reasons Luftwaffe pilots scored so many victories was constant combat, other than rare leave. Western Allied pilots rotated after a set period of ops, maybe to testing or training or a period of rest. Slowly, for all the adulation and treated like literal superstars in German press, Marseille was getting tired and stressed out with constant combat, and more Allied aircraft were coming to theatre, including more of the better Spitfire. The British and Commonwealth had won victories in the First Battle of Alamein under Auchinleck, and Monty had soundly defeated Rommel in late August at the Battle of Alpha Ridge, and there was now a massive build-up of forces for what would be Second Battle of Alamein in late October 1942. For all the aces like Marseille in North Africa, the Royal Air Force's Desert Air Force never lost overall aerial superiority and always had more and more aircraft, and the little point of the Special Air Service doing their bit on Axis airfields took its toll. Just as a point of note, it is stated that the Special Air Service destroyed more aircraft on the ground than the DAF or Royal Air Force in the skies. It's a little bit, well, I think a possible load of tosh, and I'll explain this later. It is no doubt that the brilliance of David Stirling and Paddy Mayne and the SES in the desert destroying some 400 Axis aircraft on the ground made a difference. But the Desert Air Force, which consisted of the Royal Air Force, Royal Australian Air Force, Royal New Zealand Air Force, South African Air Force, and other units, possibly Free French, and units of the United States Army Air Force, destroyed close to 8,000 Axis aircraft in the North African campaign. In the late summer of 1942, the Luftwaffe introduced the new Messerschmitt BF109 G Gustav to North Africa, though some pilots like Marseille were reluctant to convert to the new fighter due to constant engine problems with the new machine. And most were very happy with their BF109F for Frederick. But by late September 42, Marseille was converted over to the new BF109G. And on the 26th of September, claimed his 158th victory. A Spitfire, after a vicious dogfight, who Marseille stated he was the toughest opponent I have ever fought against. His turns were brilliant, and I had to use every ounce of my experience to overcome that Spitfire pilot. When he got back, his fellow pilots were shocked to see how ill Marseille looked, and begged him to accept a period of rest. On the 30th of September 1942, now captain or Hauptmann, Marseille at the controls of a new BF109 G2 Trop, leading a staffel to cover Ju-87s, had what seemed an uneventful sortie and was on the way back to base when his BF109 G2 Trop cockpit filled with oily smoke and the engine was failing. Trying to guide the stricken aircraft back to base, they managed to get over German lines. Over the radio, the rest of the staffel heard Marseille's voice stated, "I've got to get out now. I can't stand it any longer," and was seen to try to bail out after turning his BF109 on its back. The smoke from the engine was getting worse and may have not noticed the steepness of the dive, and as he left the aircraft, he hit the vertical tail. This may have killed him instantly or knocked Marseille unconscious. Either way, his parachute was not seen to open. When they found his body, the parachute release handle was still in place. The death of Marseille came as a massive shock to the Luftwaffe in North Africa. The Star of Afrika was gone, and it caused massive morale problems, including the withdrawal from theatre of JG-27. One of the questions you must ask, why was Marseille allowed to rack up such a score against the Royal Air Force? It's not that he was a top secret. The German propaganda machine turned him into a literal superstar, with his mug on numerous magazines like Der Spiegel and films, and the British and Army intelligence must have known about him, and his unit JG-27 must have been known, and possibly its location, unless they were fast asleep. Surely a visit from Mr. Mayne and the boys would have been the order of the day. This was no different to the German ace who shot down 114 British heavy bombers, Wolfgang Schnauffer, who was wandering around thinking he was king of the hill. There is no doubt Hans-Joachim Marseille was possibly the finest fighter pilot to have flown. Some may quote the likes of Erich Hartmann and Backhorn, who scored over 300 kills, and numerous others who got over 200. But most of these were against half-trained Soviet pilots in basically poor machines. All of Marseille's victories were against the Royal and Commonwealth Air Forces, highly trained and determined pilots in fairly good machines. It must never be forgotten, generally, individuals don't win wars. It's a massive team game. The Desert Air Force, or DAF, was also the blueprint for the later tactical air forces that would be victorious in Europe. So for all the sheer brilliance of Marseille in the end, strategic thinking, industrial capacity, logistics and training beat the Luftwaffe in North Africa, and, in the end, the Star of Afrika wasn't shot down by a Royal Air Force or Commonwealth pilot. He died because his engine just failed on him. Possibly building new 109s in factories, possibly by slave labour, possibly sabotage. It happened quite a lot during German war production. So, let's have a look at some of the models we've got for sale for around this period. So, on the turntable, as you can see, is a brand new BF109 F4 Trop flown by Marseille, yellow 14. Comes with all these individual markings. You've noticed I've got it in the open canopy option and a small model of Marseille in the cockpit. This is on sale at Tiger Hobbies for around about £80, and that's the recommended retail price. So shopping around might you get you a slightly better deal at market value around our retailers. But this is certain to be a classic. We only managed to get 144, and I've only got about 20 left for retail at Tiger Hobbies. Though, as stated there at our retailers, will be there in the next 72 hours. Just to the left, there is another 109. You've got a BF109E from the Battle of Britain, a young Unteroffizier pilot or corporal pilot. This is the aircraft type that Marseille would have flown in the Battle of Britain. And again, around about £80 is its recommended retail price. And just to the right, you've got a Desert BF110 in 1/72nd scale. Now, some of the early BF110 squadrons had the shark's mouths on their propeller or engine cowlings, and this is where 112 Squadron got the famous shark's mouths onto the P40. Up on the display, right at the top, we have a BF109 F2, this time Eastern Front, in 32nd scale from Hobby 2000. Right in the centre, which you've seen before in my previous Buzz Beurling, is the 72nd scale Edward limited edition Star of Afrika set with numerous markings for Marseille's BF109 F4s. To the left of that, we've got Tamiya's 148 BF109 G6 and Kubelwagen. And you can use possibly that Kubelwagen to paint that Kubelwagen as Otto, which was presented to Marseille in Africa. Just below that is a BF109 G14 in the markings of Black Tulip. Now, along with Yellow 14, Black Tulip is possibly the most famous BF109. In this case, flown by top German air race. In fact, the top German air race in history with 352 kills. Again, you've got to consider propaganda in this. Below the Edward Limited Edition is a little 109 E4 Trop in 72nd scale by Tamiya, around about £12. The BF109 G14 Eric Carpenter's Profi Part 1, that's $29.99, superb value. Over to the right, you've got the Cup of the Opposition, and below right, you've got a P40E Warhawk. Now, the cover is Pacific, but it does come with Desert Air Force North African markings. And just above this is a wonderful kit. It's the AZ model Kit York Mark 1A and BF109 F4 Yellow 14, possibly depicting the famous combat on the 15th of September, where Marseille possibly shot down 7 P40s in one sortie. I'll show you the actual model now. And also I'll leave a link to one of our partner YouTubers, Phil at Flory Models, who does a really good review of this model and is quite open and honest about it. It's a great value at $29.99. There we've got the kit, shows the details, including the markings for Yellow 14. Let me just move it so you can see it a little bit. That's better. You can just about see the decals. The 109 is a fairly new AZ tooling kit and it's fantastic. The P40 Kit York is slightly older tooling, but you can probably replace the P40 with another P40 kit. But this is not what makes the kit. What makes the kit, let me just move these aircraft slightly back so we can get into the view. There we go. It comes with $29.99. Not only a BF109 and P40 Kit York, but this beautiful full colour book on the history of the P40 and the 109s in North Africa. It's a stunning book. Comes with loads of colour pictures of various aircraft you can buy from AZ, and just generally a beautiful full colour aviation book, all in the box for just $29.99. We've only got about 20 of these left, so please check Tiger Hobbies out at www.tigerhobbies.co.uk for all the models you see on the display. What I'm going to do is produce a part 2 video of this, only for about 5 minutes, talking about why Marseille was allowed to rack up such a score, and cover a little bit about the Special Air Service's legend that they actually destroyed more aircraft on the ground than the Royal Air Force shot down from the skies. So once again, thank you for listening to this video about Hans-Joachim Marseille.